Hello, today I'm going to be talking about how I used to have a million different things to try and do when I had an urge in the past. And I want to really explain why having a long list of different things is very ineffective and why having this approach would always lead to me relapsing. So what I'll do is I'll read out exactly what I wrote down years and years ago. This was before I met Mary Paulus and the Beyond Compulsion method. And as I say, this approach didn't work for me. So hopefully me sharing this can help you in some way. So this is what I wrote down. Acknowledge the feeling will go away. Avoid anything at all which releases the pleasure chemicals in the brain. Do 100 push-ups with 30-second breaks. Go on Brain Buddy and seek help. That was a porn addiction recovery app I used to spend a lot of time on. Remember and write down everything you have lost due to P and M, so porn and masturbation. Remember your life goal. Visualize your business future. Visualize treating your family. Visualize creating a family. Visualize all your past erectile dysfunction experiences. Feel the regret you will feel afterwards. Know you will feel strong for resisting the urge. Go for a run. Read. Watch a good series. And in brackets I put only if needed. Understand it is normal to have urges. Know that other people have had just as strong urges and have overcome them. Remember, you only need to take it one day at a time. Turn your phone off. Turn your laptop off. Forget about work. Remember your potential. Remember your self-worth. Remember all the benefits of resisting. Think about long-term goals. Cool friends, cool family, meditate. Wim Hof breathing. No artificial stimulus at all. Brain Buddy audio exercises. Remember, you can't fight a chimp, but can control it by doing all the above. Wow, what an exhausting list of things to do. Now, this is the kind of stuff that people talk about online, where there's like a long list of different activities to try and do when you have an urge. And I went down this approach for years. I think it was 9 or 10 years of sort of NoFap streaks, relapse, NoFap streak, and I'd always be trying out different methods and different activities when I had an urge. And this is how you become what I call a circle person. A circle person is basically someone who goes on a streak, they relapse, and then they change their method a little bit because they've relapsed, and they try and like iterate and improve. But then because their method's changed and they've got no like clear structure and they have no understanding of how to actually deal with the addiction, they end up like going for a few more days or a few more weeks or maybe a few more months. Then they relapse again, change their approach again, and they just go round and round and round. And what happens with circle people is, unfortunately, they're very rarely aware of the fact that when they zoom out, they've actually like been in the addiction for like a very, very long time. And often when you're a circle person, you do believe you're making progress, because sometimes the streaks can actually get longer. And so you think to yourself like, oh, I'm actually going somewhere. But the reality is all you're doing is intermittently reinforcing the addicted neural pathways. And it is what we call managing and controlling an addiction. It's not a good place to be in. But that was me for 10 years. Like, honestly, every relapse, I'd change my approach just a little bit, and I'd believe that I had something to learn from the relapse. And so I never had a consistent, clear, concise, practical way to just deal with the urges in a very simple, effective, in an effective way. And that's why I kept on relapsing, because I'd always be changing things. And then I would never have that approach that could actually be like sustainable. And it didn't feel good. And it really led to a lot of mental instability, a lack of confidence. Like one day I could be full of life and like quite confident and very like sociable, and then the next day I'd be walking around looking like a zombie, and like people would pick up on that. Like people would notice, like, you know, why is Tom not his usual self today? Or at football, oh my god, it impacted football so much. Like some days, I'm not gonna lie, I would play football. I remember this one game in particular. I came off the bench, right, and I was on this like long streak, and I was full of life and energy and super confident. And I remember coming off the bench in like the 60th minute. And I scored within like literally like 3 minutes, and I think we were 4-2 down at that point. I scored in like 3 minutes, and then I had another shot that was from like 40 yards out. I'm not exaggerating. It was honestly like halfway line. I hit it. It goes off the bar, and it goes in. Right. This was crazy actually, because it went in, and this really pissed me off. But it was from so far out, the ref didn't even see it go in. But like the opposition, their players were even saying to me like, Tom, well, they didn't know my name actually. They were just like, yeah, that definitely went in, mate. Like, I think we ended up winning that game. We came back, and that was like one of the best games. But then, oh my goodness, like other games, wow, I was the worst player on the pitch by an absolute mile. Like, it was like playing with 10 men. You'd be better off with me just not on the pitch, because after relapsing, the way I played at football, every time I got the ball, I'd be so anxious. Like, I'd be so confused. I'd be so slow, and I'd be like thinking like, what do I do with the ball now? And I just overthink it so deeply. And like by the time that I've taken a touch, the opposition is just on me, and they've just taken the ball off me. And that would happen pretty much after every time I relapsed. So I was so inconsistent in football, and so inconsistent just in life in general. And it was bad. And don't get me wrong, not every game I played on a long streak I was like amazing, but you could just clearly see there was a distinction there between my like performance in football and my performance in life, like when I hadn't engaged in the compulsive behaviour for a while, and then when I'd relapsed. And so overall, like zooming out and like looking back on it all, it was just like that fragility. Like I was just such a unstable kind of person, because I was always going on these streaks and having these ups and downs. And so what I would urge anyone to do is get out of the kind of circle, person, streak cycle where you're trying different things all the time. Find one method that works for you and just stick to it, and be extremely consistent with that one method. And here's the thing that's interesting about all of this. Within our program, within the Beyond Compulsion Academy, we teach that there's these different parts in the mind. So you have like the addicted part of the mind, the rational part of the mind, the child self. The addicted part of the mind just wants you to relapse, and it's going to do whatever it can to get you to relapse, right? Now, if you're changing your method, the addicted part of the mind is basically always going to find loopholes in your new method. It'll find a way to try and get you to relapse. And sometimes it can even tell you that you're making progress by going on these streaks, only to get you to relapse again eventually. And the addicted part of the mind just wants you in this cycle of like ups and downs. It's what it wants. And so it's so important to just learn one method, understand how to deal with compulsive desires, and stick to that one method. If you do that, you're going to be absolutely fine. But the last thing you want to do is be a circle person like I was in the past, where you're trying out a million different things and you don't have a very, very clear, concise approach. You know, having a list of 30 different things to do when you have a compulsive desire is going to be ineffective. And the reason that's going to be ineffective is because it creates this massive loophole for the addicted part of the mind to come in and basically say, okay, you know, what approach should I do now? And you're going to get like confused and anxious and be like, oh, which one of these 30 different things should I do? And then that becomes an unanswerable question. And then before you know it, you're back watching porn and you've relapsed again, and then changing your method another time. And then the cycle just goes on and on and on. There has to be one approach during those moments of compulsive desire, and you got to just stick to it. And then you're going to be good, basically. So hopefully that helps you. If you'd like to better understand how much porn addiction is impacting you right now, feel free to take the compulsion test. We'll leave a link below. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.